Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we plunge into a stack of sources to bring you the insights that truly matter. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on something profoundly influential, yet often invisible. The unseen architects of our inner world. We're talking about those pervasive, unspoken forces that don't just dictate how we think, but profoundly influence how we feel, and crucially, how we express those feelings.
Yeah, and it's not just about personal preference or individual quirks, is it?
No, exactly. These are deep societal imprints woven into the very fabric of our lives from the moment we're born.
That's a powerful way to put it. Our mission today is really to unpack the intricate dance between emotional expression, those deeply ingrained societal expectations, and, importantly, your own personal agency. We'll explore how powerful forces like gender norms, cultural expectations, and, those ingrained societal messages dictate the entire landscape of our emotions.
Right, like what we allow ourselves to feel, what we allow ourselves to show.
Exactly, and what we hide away deep down. And the profound ripple effects these choices have on our mental and physical well-being and, critically, on our relationships. That's huge.
Absolutely. Our aim for this deep dive is to cut through all the noise. We want to not only reveal some truly surprising facts about these hidden influences, but also offer you actionable insights into how you can navigate these often invisible pressures more authentically. It's about transforming maybe a vague sense of unease into clear understanding, and then empowering you with knowledge to reclaim a more genuine emotional life.
To guide our exploration today, we've pulled from a really diverse collection of sources, offering multiple perspectives on this complex topic. It's quite a stack. We'll be looking at analyses on male emotional repression, which we'll get into first, then the equally significant suppression of women's speech, and the subtle yet powerful ways both are enforced. We'll dive into the mechanics of emotional intelligence and self-discipline.
Interesting connection there.
Yeah, and examine the wide-ranging social consequences of emotion regulation. We even have a fresh, kind of unconventional perspective on what truly constitutes success in life.
I'm curious about that one.
And a vital cautionary note about a controversial therapeutic approach that claims to address emotional blocks.
Okay, sounds like we have a lot to cover.
We do. So let's get started and explore this fascinating, really fundamental aspect of human experience.
Okay, let's begin by mapping out the very landscape of emotion, specifically focusing on how emotions are suppressed or expressed in our society. And the first stop is a really prevalent issue that many of us have observed, perhaps even in ourselves or those close to us. The problem of male emotional repression, often colloquially framed as why men don't cry. It seems like such a simple phrase, but it hides a profound truth, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Our sources, particularly Ralph Jeffries' work, highlight a core discomfort that many men from a very young age grapple with around vulnerability and emotion. The most obvious manifestation, as you said, is that pronounced lack of tears. But this isn't just about a man consciously, holding back tears in a moment of sadness, though that certainly happens. Jeffries explains it's a deeper, more insidious process where the impulse to cry might actually be absent altogether.
Wow. So it's not even a conscious choice at that point.
Potentially not. It's not just the suppression of an action. It's the erosion of the very internal signal for that action, all due to incredibly deep socialization.
That's a crucial distinction that really changes how we understand this. If the impulse itself is gone, then it's not a conscious decision. It's like unconscious programming.
Exactly.
Jeffries describes this as incredibly deep socialization, operating on an unconscious level. Boys are taught, not intellectually through direct instruction, here's why you shouldn't cry.
No, not like that.
But emotionally and experientially that we do not cry. How is this lesson so effectively reinforced? You think about it. They observe older male role models, fathers, uncles, public figures who rarely, if ever, cry publicly.
That modeling is powerful.
It implies it's not a manly thing to do. Or, perhaps even more powerfully, they might experience negative social responses themselves, like mockery, discomfort, or even overt punishment when they do show tears at kids.
Yeah, that negative feedback loop.
It's a consistent, unspoken curriculum that shapes their emotional world from infancy, really.
And the consequences are far from trivial. Jeffries emphasizes that this form of masculinity is actively damaging their mental health. It forces men into patterns of poor coping mechanisms because they lack the fundamental tools for emotional release and processing.
Right.
Imagine being wired to deny a part of your basic human experience, the natural ebb and flow of emotions. This builds up internal pressure with profound costs.
Jonathan Fortune's description of traditional masculinity really brings this home. He paints a picture where men are pressured to embody strength, toughness, and emotional stoicism.
That classic stoic ideal.
Yeah, and this isn't just a suggestion. It's an ideal that demands they suppress fundamental human emotions like fear, sadness, and vulnerability. Why?
Well, the idea is to project an image of invulnerability, right?
Exactly. To appear consistently strong, unchanging, and unburdened. It's an incredibly heavy burden to carry, isn't it? Expecting someone to essentially disconnect from vital parts of themselves, to wear a mask of constant composure.
It has immense psychological weight, definitely. It truly does. Now, shifting gears a bit, let's look at how societal norms impact women, specifically concerning the equally profound, though different, suppression of their speech.
Okay.
Rachel Berman, reflecting on Soraya Kameli's impactful work, highlights that girls are socialized from a very young age to carefully regulate their speech. There's an internalized message that what they say isn't as important as what a boy has to say, often subtly reinforced in classrooms, playgrounds, even within families.
Little comments, maybe.
Or interruptions.
Exactly. The expectation becomes clear. Quiet behavior is expected.
And that's incredibly frustrating because it leads to a common and deeply unfair double bind. Women who do express their opinions with confidence, who speak up and assert themselves, are often seen as aggressive and dominant. Yeah, the labels come out fast.
And crucially, they're not respected for it. Rather, they're often penalized. It's a no-win situation that actively chills free expression and stifles their ability to contribute fully, leading to an environment where their voices are literally devalued before they even speak sometimes.
And this pervasiveness of suppression extends across numerous mediums, permeating our daily lives in ways we might not consciously recognize. Consider media objectification, for instance.
Oh yeah, that's everywhere.
Women are often depicted as mere objects in television, music videos, advertisements. Their bodies used to sell products or concepts. This isn't just a visual issue. It fundamentally removes their autonomy over their own personhood and voice. When someone is reduced to an object, they are effectively silenced.
Their agency is just stripped away.
Exactly. And their ability to speak for themselves is diminished.
And then there's the chilling reality of online threats. The observation that threats made to women online often use language focusing on the neck, think, strangling, hanging, forced fellatio.
Ugh, yes, that specific targeting.
It's a direct, insidious way to inhibit their speech. It's designed to create a visceral fear of physical harm if they dare to speak out, pushing them into silence through intimidation.
It's a targeted form of digital violence aimed squarely at silencing women's voices in public and private spheres. It's horrifying. It even reaches into the seemingly innocent world of childhood literature, subtly shaping perceptions from the earliest age. Jamali's work points out that in children's books, the majority of protagonists are male.
Is that right? I hadn't realized the extent.
Yeah, in popular animated animal books, for example, she found that 100% feature male characters, but only 33% feature female characters.
Wow, only a third.
Right. This disproportionate representation imprints a deeply ingrained sense of who gets to be the hero, whose story is told, and whose voice matters in the grand narrative of life.
So if girls rarely see themselves as the central speaking character,
it communicates a powerful, unspoken message about their place in the world, doesn't it?
and we can't overlook how patriarchy in many major religions ritualistically silences women. They're often expected to obey men and are denied their own thoughts and feelings in matters of faith, community leadership.
A structural silencing.
This prevents them from holding positions of authority, like the Catholic Church not allowing women priests, or other religions dictating their roles in worship. It's a systemic suppression that spans generations, actively restricting their spiritual and communal expression.
It's crucial here to draw a clear distinction between repressed and suppressed emotions, as defined by Healthline. This distinction is vital for understanding the underlying mechanisms. Repressed emotions are those you unconsciously avoid. You're not actively trying to push them down, you're simply unaware of them. Or they're so deeply buried they don't register consciously.
Okay, so like totally off the radar.
Pretty much. These often stem from childhood trauma where expressing emotions led to distressing outcomes. Maybe a child was shamed, punished, or ignored when they cried or expressed anger, leading them to unconsciously wall off those feelings as unsafe.
That's a really helpful clarification. Yeah. So suppression is more conscious. Like think about it like this. If you experience a huge argument with your partner and decide to break up, but you have an incredibly important work meeting the next day,
Yeah.
you might consciously decide to push those overwhelming feelings aside until after the meeting. You acknowledge the feelings are there, but you strategically put them on hold.
Right. You park them temporarily.
That's suppression, a short-term, conscious choice for a specific purpose. Repression, in contrast, is much deeper. It's an unconscious burying, often so complete that you genuinely don't know the emotions are even there.
It's like a subconscious firewall you didn't even know you built.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The common origins of repression often trace back to those early childhood experiences. If caregivers rarely show their own emotions, shamed or punished a child's emotional expression, or even denied a child experiences by saying things like, "You're not really sad," or "There's nothing to be afraid of."
Oh, that invalidation must be so confusing for a kid. It really is. The child might unconsciously learn that it's safer to bury strong emotions. They internalize the message that certain feelings are unacceptable or dangerous, and so they develop coping mechanisms to push those feelings out of conscious awareness, doing so without realizing it.
And it's particularly strong with what we often label as negative emotions.
Yeah,
right?
that's what the source suggests, yeah. People are far more likely to repress strong emotions associated with discomfort or unpleasant experiences. Intense anger, overwhelming frustration, deep sadness, paralyzing fear, or crushing disappointment.
Because those are the ones we're told aren't okay.
Precisely. This often comes from those childhood messages, subtle or explicit, like calm down, don't be a baby, or you shouldn't be sad. These messages teach us to invalidate these feelings rather than acknowledge and process them.
Leading to a habit of burying them deep down.
Wow. Now, let's turn our attention to the profound and far-reaching impact that both emotional repression and suppression have on us. Starting with mental health, the inability for men to experience emotional release, such as through crying, is, as Jeffries highlights, a critical and deeply damaging problem.
That lack of release valve.
Exactly. It consistently leads men to opt for poor coping mechanisms because the healthy outlets for processing emotions have been shut down or never developed. This emotional constipation, if you will, forces feelings into less constructive channels.
This isn't just anecdotal observation. We see it backed by research.
Yep.
A 2013 study of Canadian college men with depression really illustrates this painful reality. It found that their identification with traditional masculine ideals produced 3 common responses to internal pressure. Reactive anger,
Right, that lashing out.
which many described as feeling really out of character for who they were, often manifesting as outbursts or irritability. Deliberate isolation, withdrawing from social connections when they needed support most.
Pushing people away.
And substance abuse, using alcohol or drugs to numb feelings they couldn't express.
Self-medication, essentially.
What's truly striking is that many of them failed to connect these self-destructive behaviors to the masculine ideals they felt compelled to uphold.
Really? They didn't see the link?
Apparently not. Some even admitted they definitely judge another man for depression, perpetuating the very stigma that trapped them. It's a self-perpetuating cycle of judgment and suppression that's incredibly hard to break.
Jonathan Fortune's article reinforces this, noting that traditional masculine norms like emotional stoicism and an overemphasis on self-reliance act as significant barriers to seeking mental health support.
The man-up mentality.
Pretty much. The idea that a man should handle it himself or be strong can prevent them from admitting they need help. This often leads to delays in seeking help or outright avoidance of therapy or counseling.
Compounded by the stigma.
Exactly. Compounded by the pervasive stigma around mental health in many communities, which whispers that needing help is a sign of weakness.
And it's not just men who experience psychological symptoms from repression. For anyone, Healthline points out that repressed emotions can manifest in tangible, often puzzling ways. You might regularly feel numb or blank, experiencing a pervasive lack of emotional responsiveness as a default state.
Like you're just going through the motions.
Yeah. Or perhaps you feel constant nervousness or stress without a clear, identifiable reason. A vague sense of unease that never quite goes away.
That free-floating anxiety.
Forgetfulness can be a subtle sign, as your mind works overtime to keep certain emotional memories at bay. You might feel discomfort when others express their feelings, finding it awkward or overwhelming.
Almost like an allergy to emotion.
Or, even more tellingly, you might feel distressed or irritated when asked about your own emotions, as if the very question is an intrusion on a forbidden zone.
Defensiveness kicks in.
It's like your mind is trying to tell you something, but you're not letting yourself hear it, leading to a constant low-level internal conflict.
Beyond individual mental health, repression and suppression have a huge, often unseen impact on our relationships and social functioning. For men, societal expectations profoundly affect intimacy, creating deep chasms in what could be flourishing connections.
How so?
While they may struggle to communicate openly and authentically in romantic partnerships, fearing that vulnerability will undermine their perceived masculinity, this creates real barriers to deep connection, trust, and mutual understanding.
So the relationship stays surface level?
Often, yes. Similarly, even friendships can remain at a surface level, focused on activities rather than shared feelings, because of the ingrained fear of being perceived as weak or overly emotional.
And this isn't just about male dynamics, it's a universal social cost. Cami English and Lamiz Eldasuki introduced the powerful concept that expressive suppression, that inhibition of ongoing emotional behavior, has wide-ranging adverse social effects.
Adverse social effects, that's key.
This isn't just a personal choice with personal consequences. It ripples outwards, affecting everyone in the suppressor's social orbit, from casual acquaintances to the closest loved ones.
Their research provides compelling evidence. In experimental settings, previously unacquainted partners reported significantly less rapport, comfort, and desire to affiliate with individuals who were instructed to use suppression.
Like meeting someone with a complete poker face. It's hard to connect.
Exactly. And in romantic couples, suppression led to fewer behavioral indicators of intimacy, things as simple as touch, shared laughter, or empathetic eye contact. The emotional connection simply wasn't visibly there.
That's truly fascinating, showing the immediate, visceral impact. And it shows up in daily life, too. Daily diaries kept by individuals revealed that both the individuals themselves and their dating partners reported lower relationship satisfaction and greater conflict on days when one person suppressed emotions.
So it actively harms the relationship day to day.
It seems so. This isn't a one-off. It's a persistent drain. And the long-term costs are even more significant. Habitual suppression was associated with less closeness over time, measurable declines in overall relationship closeness over 4 years of college.
Wow, over 4 years.
An increased risk of romantic breakups and even reduced social support in old age. The effects really compound over time, slowly eroding the very bonds that sustain us.
What's truly crucial here, and perhaps most surprising, is that suppression in one person doesn't just affect them. It can lead to heightened stress responses like increased sympathetic arousal, our fight or flight system, and elevated cortisol levels in both members of a dyad.
Both people, even if only one is suppressing.
Yes, whether they are strangers or romantic partners, it's a shared physiological burden. Individuals also reported lower well-being on days when their dating partner used suppression, especially during relational sacrifices.
Like when one person gives something up for the other.
Exactly. It implies an unseen energy cost that both individuals pay when one is holding back. It's like the stress is contagious.
This raises an important question. Why does suppression have these widespread social consequences? Our sources suggest a few underlying mechanisms. First, there's the disruption of social cues.
Makes sense.
Emotion plays vital interpersonal functions. Our expressions communicate needs, intentions, reactions. Suppression effectively decreases emotional expression, but it doesn't necessarily alter the subjective experience of the emotion or the physiological responses happening internally.
So you feel it, but you don't show it.
Right. So by interfering with that outward expression, it becomes incredibly stressful and cognitively demanding for partners to try and decode the other person's emotions. They're left guessing, like trying to follow a conversation where half the words are missing.
That sounds exhausting.
Imagine trying to have a genuine conversation with someone wearing a poker face. You're constantly trying to read signals that aren't there, which isn't just frustrating, it's emotionally exhausting, and breeds a deep sense of misunderstanding and distrust.
Second, suppression is cognitively demanding. It acts like a tax on your mental resources. When you're working hard to keep your emotions in check, to maintain that poker face, you have less mental bandwidth available for attending to and responding genuinely to an interaction partner.
You're too busy managing yourself internally?
Exactly. You're too busy managing your internal state to truly be present with someone else. As a result, partners perceive a lack of responsiveness. They don't feel seen, heard, or understood.
And that feeling of not being understood kills rapport.
Precisely. This perceived lack mediates the adverse effect of suppression on rapport, as partners don't feel understood or appreciated, leading to a chilling effect on the interaction.
And finally, there are pervasive feelings of inauthenticity. Strategies that create a stark discrepancy between your inner emotional experience and your outward display, like suppression, can arouse powerful feelings of inauthenticity in the suppressor.
Feeling like a fake.
Yeah, you might feel like you're putting on an act, or that you're not truly yourself. This lack of authenticity is a huge deal, because authenticity is crucial for promoting trust and self-disclosure in relationships.
Can't build real connection without realness.
If you don't feel real, it's incredibly hard to build real, deep connections with others. It's a fundamental barrier to true intimacy.
Beyond the psychological and relational, there's a surprising and often overlooked link between our emotions and our physical health. While emotions don't directly cause illness, sadness doesn't give you the flu. For example, repressed emotions can have very real and tangible physical manifestations.
The body keeps the score, as they say.
That's the idea, yes.
This is where it gets incredibly intriguing. A 2019 review, for instance, suggests a fascinating link between emotional repression and decreased immune system function.
Wow, really? Affecting immunity.
That's what the review suggests. If your immune system isn't working optimally, you might find yourself getting sick more frequently, battling colds or infections that linger longer, and recovering more slowly from illness.
So holding emotions in could literally make you more susceptible to bugs.
The implications are significant, suggesting that emotional well-being plays a role in our physical resilience. More research is needed, but it's a compelling link.
And it doesn't stop there. Repressed emotions contribute significantly to mental health conditions like chronic stress, anxiety, and depression. These conditions, in turn, cause a wide range of very real physical symptoms.
Like what kind of things?
We're talking about persistent muscle tension and pain, particularly in the neck, shoulders, and back, nausea and various digestive problems like irritable bowel syndrome, significant appetite changes, either overeating or loss of appetite, pervasive fatigue that no amount of rest seems to alleviate,
That bone-deep exhaustion.
and persistent sleep disturbances, from difficulty falling asleep to waking frequently throughout the night. It's a cascading effect, where the emotional burden translates directly into physical discomfort.
Absolutely. Think about childhood trauma, which we identified as a common root cause of repressed emotions. Research for 2023 indicates a strong link between such trauma and a higher likelihood of chronic health conditions later in life.
That connection makes sense, sadly.
And specifically, our sources highlight that unresolved anger emotions that are consistently stifled and unexpressed can significantly increase your risk of cardiovascular disease,
Anger and heart problems.
leading to issues like high blood pressure and an elevated risk of heart attack or stroke. So holding it all in isn't just emotionally taxing. It can be physically dangerous, quite literally putting your heart at risk.
Now that we've fully explored the profound impacts, let's dive into the societal roots of all this and the pervasive role of socialization in constructing our emotional worlds. We've touched on it, but it bears repeating with emphasis. Socialization conditions us all to act according to a script we are not aware of.
That unconscious programming again.
Exactly. For men, as Ralph Jeffries noted, the repression of emotion is so deeply ingrained that the very impulse to cry may no longer exist. It's not a conscious suppression in the moment. It's an unconscious, almost biological level programming.
And this is precisely why Jeffries makes the powerful argument that the problem is emotional, not intellectual. Boys don't learn not to cry through conscious instruction, like being told, don't cry because it's weak.
No, it's not a lecture.
Instead, they learn through observation and powerful negative social reinforcement. They see older men consistently not crying, leading to an unconscious internal model. Or they experience mockery, discomfort, or shaming if they do cry.
That visceral learning.
Which viscerally teaches them that crying is a source of pain or rejection. It's learned behavior at a deep, visceral, even precognitive level. So it's learned deep down, like in your gut, not in your head.
This point is vital. Jeffries stresses that this is not an individual problem for men to solve on their own. We often frame it as men need to just get in touch with their feelings, as if it's a simple personal choice.
Right, like flipping a switch.
Instead, he argues it's mostly the product of deep pain and a deeply embedded function of societal socialization that affects entire groups. Therefore, meaningful change requires a systemic approach.
Looking beyond the individual.
Yes, one that looks beyond individual efforts to transform the very societal structures and norms that perpetuate this repression. It's not about blaming individuals, but understanding the powerful forces that shape them.
Shifting to Jonathan Fortune's analysis, masculinity itself is not a static concept. It's a dynamic and evolving construct, shaped by a complex interplay of cultural, social, and historical forces.
It changes over time.
It's constantly shifting, like the evolution from the stoic, financially stable 1950s breadwinner who rarely showed emotion, to the more introspective and perhaps even sensitive new man archetype of the 1990s.
Right, that brief moment.
Yet despite these superficial shifts, certain powerful themes of societal expectations for masculinity stubbornly persist, acting as an invisible hand guiding men's emotional expression.
Indeed. These enduring themes include the pervasive pressure for strength and stoicism.
Be tough. Don't show weakness.
Right. Then there's the immense pressure to be the sole provider and protector, responsible not only for the financial security, but also the physical safety of their families and loved ones.
That's a heavy weight.
It often leads to significant stress, anxiety, and burnout, as the weight of responsibility can feel overwhelming.
We also see the valorization of dominance and aggression. Competitiveness is highly encouraged, and men often feel pressured to assert dominance in various contexts, from social settings like sports and friendships to professional environments like the workplace.
The alpha male pressure.
It's a constant drive to be on top. And finally, there's heteronormativity, the privileging of heterosexual relationships as the only normal or acceptable form of masculinity.
Leaving many men out.
This often leads to profound stigma, exclusion, and even violence from men who don't conform to these ideals, reinforcing a narrow definition of what it means to be a man. These aren't just ideas. They're powerful, deeply embedded forces shaping male identity and emotional expression.
Turning back to women, the gendered speech norms are imprinted from a very early age and are deeply pervasive, often more subtly than overtly. As Rachel Berman highlighted from Soraya Chamali's work, girls are taught from a young age to carefully regulate their speech.
How does that look in practice?
This can manifest as being told to be nice, don't be too loud, or let the boys speak first. They internalize the belief that their voices are less important, less impactful, and less desired in many contexts.
So the unspoken rule becomes,
Quiet behavior is expected, leading to that frustrating double bind we talked about earlier.
what's truly fascinating and deeply unjust is that if women do speak confidently, with conviction and authority, they risk being seen as aggressive and dominant.
The backlash.
And crucially, they are often not respected for their assertiveness, but rather dismissed or undermined. This isn't just about manners. It's about a fundamental assault on their autonomy and a systemic mechanism of silencing, like the objectification piece.
Exactly. The objectification of women in media, for example, by reducing them to visual commodities, fundamentally removes their autonomy over their own bodies, which is a direct and insidious suppression of their free speech and expression.
If your body is not your own, how can your voice be? Powerful point.
And the threats women face online, particularly those focusing on the neck references to strangling, hanging, forced fellatio, are a stark and terrifying example of how this fear is instilled to explicitly inhibit their speech.
It's targeted intimidation.
These are not random threats. They're specifically designed to communicate if you speak, you will be silenced violently. It's a direct attack on their ability to participate in public discourse without fear.
Beyond gender, culture and age also play a significant role in emotion regulation, as English and Eldasuki note, adding another layer of complexity to our emotional landscape.
Right, it's not just gender.
Culture profoundly shapes our beliefs about when, where, and how emotions should be controlled, expressed, or even felt. For instance, Western cultures often encourage free, open, and individualistic expression of emotions,
Let it all out.
whereas many East Asian cultures might emphasize emotional restraint, harmony, and collectivist approaches to feelings, prioritizing group cohesion over individual emotional display.
This cultural variability means the social consequences of suppression can differ significantly across contexts. For example, individuals who suppress emotions might be perceived less negatively by partners who endorse more Asian values, where emotional moderation is often seen as a virtue.
So suppression isn't always seen negatively.
Not universally, no. Similarly, relationship quality can actually be higher for more interdependent individuals, those who define themselves more through their relationships when they use suppression.
Why is that?
Because it might be seen as a sign of consideration for the other person's feelings, or for maintaining group harmony. This truly raises an important question about the universality of these effects, reminding us that emotional norms are not one-size-fits-all.
And the regulator's age also matters in this complex equation. As individuals grow older, they often gain expertise in selecting and implementing emotion regulation strategies.
They get better at it with practice.
They learn which strategies work best in which situations and become more adept at applying them, potentially requiring less cognitive effort to manage their emotions. This increased efficiency could free up attention for interaction partners,
Making interactions smoother.
making social interactions smoother and less taxing. However, it's worth noting that even in late adulthood, habitual suppression has still been linked to persistent feelings of inauthenticity and reduced social support.
So it doesn't solve everything.
Right. So while the mechanics of regulation may become easier with age, some core issues related to genuine connection and self-perception can unfortunately persist if suppression remains the primary strategy.
Okay, now that we've fully explored the landscape and profound impact of emotional suppression and repression, let's pivot to pathways for change. How we can begin to release these emotions and challenge these deeply ingrained norms that have shaped us. We'll start with individual strategies that anyone can begin to explore right now.
For anyone struggling with expressing or regulating their emotions, seeking professional help is, without question, a crucial first step.
Absolutely. Don't go it alone if it's deep-seated.
A qualified mental health professional can provide a safe, non-judgmental space to help you name and understand feelings that may have been hidden for years, increase your comfort with emotional expression, and learn healthier regulation methods.
Finding that safe space is key.
The Healthline source specifically mentions emotionally focused therapy, or EFT, remember that name, emotionally focused therapy, as one beneficial and well-regarded approach.
We'll come back to why that distinction matters later.
Right. This therapy emphasizes emotional expression as a core component of healing and can be particularly helpful for individuals grappling with childhood trauma, depression, anxiety, and complex relationship issues.
By helping them identify and process deep-seated emotional patterns. It's about creating a space where hidden feelings can finally surface and be understood. What's truly powerful here is that while professional help is foundational for deep-seated issues, there are actionable self-practices you can start trying right now to begin that journey of emotional liberation. One simple yet profound step is a regular check-in.
Just stopping and asking.
Yeah. Take a moment, perhaps several times a day, to simply ask yourself, how do I feel right now? Don't judge the answer, just notice it.
What if words are hard?
Good question. If putting feelings into precise words is difficult at first, and for many it can be, suggest using colors in art or journaling, or even finding a song that perfectly matches your mood. The goal is to acknowledge the feeling, however vaguely, rather than ignoring it.
Just make contact with it.
This practice slowly reestablishes a connection with your inner emotional landscape.
Another incredibly practical step is to practice using I statements when you do articulate your feelings. Instead of vague complaints or externalizing blame,
Which is easy to do.
articulate your feelings directly and own them. I feel confused, I feel nervous, I feel terrified. This simple linguistic shift puts you in the driver's seat of your emotion.
Taking ownership.
And don't feel like you have to jump straight into the most difficult or negative emotions. Healthline wisely suggests starting with naming and embracing positive emotions. First, acknowledge your joy, your excitement, your peace.
Build the muscle with the easier stuff.
Exactly. This builds comfort and confidence in emotional expression, serving as a gentle stepping stone to processing all emotions, even the more challenging ones. It's like building muscle memory for emotional honesty.
Crucially, and perhaps most challenging, you need to release judgment about your emotions. No matter what emotion you're feeling, whether it's anger, jealousy, or profound sadness, avoid judging yourself for it or telling yourself you shouldn't feel a certain way.
That's hard. We're so conditioned to judge feelings.
It is harder than it sounds because we're often wired to categorize emotions as good or bad, acceptable or unacceptable. But when you can pause and just observe a feeling and ask, why might this be here right now? Or what is this feeling trying to tell me? You shift from a critical internal judge to a curious detective.
From critic to detective, I like that.
That seemingly small shift can unlock immense self-acceptance and clarity. It's not just about feeling better in the moment, it's about fundamentally rewiring your emotional operating system. When you strip away judgment, you open the door to truly learning from your emotions, turning internal conflict into a powerful data point for growth and resilience.
Moving from self-criticism to self-mastery. And finally, build the habit of emotional sharing. Encourage yourself to practice naming and sharing emotions with trusted individuals, a close friend, a family member, or a partner.
Start small, maybe.
Yeah, start small, perhaps by sharing a feeling related to a neutral event. And critically, make sure you reciprocate by asking them to share their feelings too, and truly listen without judgment.
Make it a two-way street.
This creates a safe space for mutual emotional growth, fostering vulnerability and authenticity in your relationships, and slowly dismantling the walls you might have unconsciously built.
For men, challenging entrenched masculine societal norms and actively seeking support is a powerful pathway toward greater well-being. Jonathan Fortune positions embracing vulnerability and authenticity not as a weakness, but as a powerful antidote to the suffocating pressures of traditional masculinity.
It's not about being less manly, but more human.
Precisely. It's not about becoming less masculine. It's about expanding what masculinity can be. It's a direct path to cultivating deeper connections, genuine intimacy, and a more fulfilling life because you're showing up as your whole self.
Reaching out for help from friends, family, or mental health professionals should be reframed as a profound strength, not a weakness. Men should feel empowered, not ashamed, to seek support when needed.
Changing that narrative is crucial.
This is about actively redefining masculinity for the 21st century. Men play a crucial and indispensable role in challenging these traditional gender norms and advocating for greater acceptance and respect for diverse expressions of masculinity. So they lead the change.
By doing so, they don't just help themselves, but actively contribute to fostering a more inclusive and emotionally healthy society for everyone. It's an act of courage that benefits the collective. And for individual well-being amidst these societal pressures, cultivating self-compassion and prioritizing self-care are absolutely essential.
Being kind to yourself through the process.
Yes. This means actively choosing to be kind to yourself, especially when you feel the weight of societal expectations. It entails prioritizing activities that truly nourish your mind, body, and spirit. Whether it's through consistent meditation, engaging in regular physical exercise, pursuing creative expression like writing or art,
Whatever works for you.
or simply spending quiet time in nature. These acts of self-care are not luxuries. They are fundamental components of building resilience and fostering mental and emotional well-being when you're working to challenge deeply ingrained norms.
Let's talk about collective action, particularly for men, to bring about this monumental societal shift. Ralph Jeffries reiterates a vital point. Changing harmful masculinities requires men to do the work themselves.
They have to own it.
This isn't about waiting for others to define a new path. As those with the collective lived experience of emotional suppression and its costs, men are uniquely positioned to articulate what it feels like to be trapped by these norms.
To speak from experience.
And to speak directly to the full, rich range of male identity that exists beyond these constricting expectations. It's their story to tell, their liberation to lead.
What's vital, as Jeffries stresses, is for men to provide practical examples of living and demonstrating vulnerability through concrete action, rather than just repeating slogans or abstract ideas.
Show, don't just tell.
Exactly. It's about showing, not just telling. This could mean a father openly discussing his feelings with his son, a group of male friends talking about their struggles beyond surface-level banter, or public figures sharing their own emotional journeys.
Making it visible and normal.
These visible acts of vulnerability create new blueprints for future generations of men.
This also calls for institutional and political shifts. We should advocate for pushing institutions, especially schools, to become acutely aware of how their environments, even subtly, might discourage boys from crying or expressing a full range of emotions.
Looking at the systems.
This could involve training teachers, updating curricula, and fostering emotionally safe spaces. Politically, the discussion around toxic masculinity needs to be recentered, moving beyond individual blame.
Seeing the bigger picture.
Instead, we should see it primarily as a product of deep pain and deeply ingrained societal socialization, not solely in individual failing. This demands a systemic approach to change, focusing on policy and cultural shifts that support healthier masculinities.
Now, let's turn to women's empowerment and the courageous act of breaking ingrained social norms. ActionAid highlights that social norms often dictate a life characterized by unrecognized hard work, severely limited opportunities, and the constant chilling danger of violence for women around the world.
The harsh reality for so many.
These are the unspoken rules that govern so many lives, confining women to narrow, often perilous paths.
What's truly fascinating and deeply inspiring is the power of speaking out. ActionAid emphasizes that while empowering women can tragically lead to backlash like resistance from family and community, or even an increase in violence from those threatened by their newfound agency.
A dangerous reality sometimes.
Amazing things can happen when women take a courageous stand against unjust norms and speak out. It's a defiant and liberating act with profound potential for both individual transformation and wider societal change.
It is the act of reclaiming their own narrative and their own voice. ActionAid's strategies for empowerment are multifaceted and practical. They include recognizing, reducing, and ultimately redistributing the immense burden of unpaid care work that falls disproportionately on women globally.
That invisible workload.
Exactly. Once women gain time back from these essential but often invisible tasks, the focus shifts to helping them use that gained time productively, perhaps by growing crops for sale, supporting their access to markets to sell their goods.
Building economic independence.
And critically, fostering their confidence in decision-making and self-expression within their families and communities. It's about creating real opportunities for autonomy and economic independence.
And ActionAid provides truly inspirational stories of trailblazers who embody this power. Take Agatha from Ghana, a smallholder farmer who, despite her tireless efforts and clear vision, lost 6 district assembly elections because of deeply ingrained gender-based allegations.
6 times. That's tough.
She faced whispers and outright pronouncements like, "Don't give her the mandate just because I am a woman," or she would use resources for her children, not the community. But after being revived by ActionAid forums and community radio discussions, her increased visibility and the encouragement she received helped her persist.
She didn't give up.
She finally won, shattering expectations and becoming an elected assemblywoman, proving that a woman's leadership is not only valid, but vital for community progress. Her story is a testament to the power of perseverance against systemic bias.
Then there's Esther, a 65-year-old widow from Ghana whose husband's family, adhering to patriarchal tradition, cruelly seized her land after she resisted remarriage following his death.
Just took her land. Awful.
Left with nothing, she struggled desperately to feed her children and provide for her family. Through participating in a Flow Reflect Circle, a community-based learning and empowerment group, she learned about her legal rights, gained an incredible surge of confidence,
Knowledge is power.
and with newfound strength, successfully reclaimed her land by bravely confronting the chief. This single act of empowered speech and legal advocacy completely transformed her family's life, pulling them out of destitution and demonstrating the profound impact of knowing and claiming your rights.
And Gonika from Bangladesh, a Hindu housewife whose community norms deemed it unimaginable for her to work in a male-dominated market.
Breaking major taboos.
The cultural barriers were immense. A lack of basic facilities like women's toilets, no private breastfeeding space, and the general societal expectation that women did not belong in public commerce. Despite facing immense family and societal pressure, she bravely took over her late husband's tea stall.
Wow.
She adapted, learned, and not only made a success of it, but earned enough to support her family and ensure her son's schooling. Her courageous act of stepping into a forbidden sphere inspired 11 other women in her community to start businesses in the same market,
She paved the way.
earning her an award for challenging deeply entrenched barriers and making her a true trailblazer. These aren't just stories. They're powerful examples of what happens when women reclaim their voices, their agency, and their economic power in the face of daunting social norms.
They show that one courageous act can ignite a cascade of change. Finally, let's connect emotional intelligence, self-discipline, and the very concept of success. Starting with emotional intelligence, or EI, Moniva and Gatan, define it as far more than just being nice.
It's deeper than that.
It's the ability to understand, use, and manage their own emotions in a positive way, to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, to overcome challenges, and diffuse conflict. It's a core life skill that touches every aspect of our interactions.
That's a truly comprehensive definition. It highlights that EI isn't just about feeling your feelings. It includes recognizing your own internal feelings, understanding what those feelings convey, knowing how your emotions affect others,
That awareness piece.
and then effectively handling relationships by regulating your own emotional responses and responding empathetically to others.
The management and relationship skills.
And what's fascinating is its widely recognized importance for success. Maneva and Gatan emphasize that EI is considered a crucial factor in academic achievement for students, helping them navigate social dynamics, stress, and collaboration.
Makes sense for school.
Furthermore, it's what makes them versatile employees once they embark into the working world, equipping them with the soft skills necessary to thrive in complex professional environments. So it's not just about what you know, but how you handle yourself and others in the messy human world.
This brings us to a complex and, frankly, intriguing point: the relationship between emotional intelligence and self-discipline. Moneva and Gatan conducted a study aiming to explore this relationship in senior high school students. Considering both important for academic achievement, it seems intuitive that they would be closely linked, right?
You'd think so.
Yeah.
Like someone with high emotional intelligence would also be highly self-disciplined, or vice versa.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the source presents what appears to be a contradiction in its findings, something important for us to acknowledge when looking at research.
Okay, what did they find?
On one hand, the abstract and conclusions of the study assert a positive relationship between students' level of self-discipline and emotional intelligence. They explicitly state that both are important factors in influencing academic success.
Which aligns with their intuition.
However, if you dive into the results and discussions section of the same study, it explicitly states, based on a statistical test called a chi-square analysis, which helps determine if there's a meaningful connection between two factors, that while the results were statistically sound, meaning they weren't just due to random chance, indicated by p 0.05.
So the math was good, but
they found no significant relationship between the two variables, emotional intelligence and self-discipline. The study concludes that they were not influence each other.
wait, so the abstract says yes, the details say no.
That's what it looks like. This highlights the complexities and sometimes even apparent inconsistencies you can find in research findings, even within a single source. It reminds us to always look at the details, read beyond the abstract, and be open to results that challenge our initial assumptions about how different human traits interact.
And on the note of specific details, the study did mention that while female students rated slightly higher values for both self-discipline and emotional intelligence when compared to their male counterparts.
A small difference.
Yeah, but they found these differences to be statistically insignificant. So while there might have been a small numerical difference in the averages, it wasn't a large enough or consistent enough pattern to be considered a meaningful or generalizable difference across the entire population.
Meaning it could have just been due to chance in that particular sample? Okay. Now, let's redefine success, moving beyond traditional, often rigid metrics like simply putting in the hours or following a linear career path. We're going to dive into some truly unconventional wisdom from Alex Hormozi on the Modern Wisdom podcast.
Hormozi, okay. What's his take?
He challenges the very idea that success is a straight line, arguing it's actually more chaotic. This isn't just a different view, it's a liberating one, especially if you've ever felt like you're not following the right path.
This is a huge shift in perspective that I think many of us need to hear. Hormozi's core takeaway is truly powerful and counterintuitive. Indecision costs more than failure.
Indecision costs more than failure. Wow.
He argues that inaction is the real enemy, not making mistakes. Think about it. Every moment spent waiting for perfect conditions, waiting for absolute certainty, is a moment lost.
Analysis paralysis.
Exactly. Acting on imperfect information, even if it turns out to be wrong, builds momentum that waiting never will. Waiting for perfect conditions is a trap that often leads to stagnation, whereas even a misstep can teach you something and propel you forward.
He introduces the incredibly insightful concept of anxiety cost, the immense mental energy, time, and emotional toll wasted when you're stuck in the agonizing loop of indecision.
Oh, I know that feeling. The churning.
Right. The cost of not making a decision, of allowing yourself to be paralyzed by options, is often far greater than the risk of making the wrong one and simply learning from it. His mantra is clear, crisp, and freeing. Perfect is the enemy of progress.
Letting go of perfectionism.
It liberates you from the need for flawlessness and encourages action.
And what truly liberates, according to Hormozi, is the profound insight that in 3 generations, no one will remember you or your failures.
Oof, that puts things in perspective.
Let that sink in for a moment. This perspective is incredibly freeing because it allows you to make bold decisions, to take risks, to try new things without the crushing weight of potential judgment from family, friends, or peers.
Takes the pressure off.
It puts your perceived failures, your missteps, or even your current anxieties into a much larger, less impactful context. It's a powerful reminder that the only judgment that truly matters in the long run is your own.
And the only person you have to answer to is yourself. This perspective can truly unlock a bolder, more authentic version of you. He also offers one of his most profound insights, one that resonates deeply with our discussion on emotional authenticity. The idea of choosing your regrets.
Choosing your regrets, how does that work?
Regret, he argues, is an inevitable part of the human experience. You cannot avoid it entirely. But the truly empowering part is that you get to choose your regrets. The regret of not trying at all, of inaction, of letting fear or indecision paralyze you.
The regret of omission
Is almost universally far worse and more corrosive than the regret of trying and failing. This framework empowers confident decision-making because you're picking the regret you can live with, the one born from courage and effort, not from hesitation and fear.
It transforms regret from a burden into a choice. Interesting. And success, according to Hormozi, doesn't come from avoiding discomfort. In fact, it's the opposite. He emphasizes that resilience and growth don't happen in comfort zones. They happen by leaning into the struggle.
Embracing the hard parts.
It's about pushing through hardship, embracing challenges, and recognizing that hardship is necessary for success. You don't get stronger by avoiding the gym. You get stronger by lifting heavy things, even when it's uncomfortable. This perspective reframes struggle not as a barrier, but as the essential forge for growth and true achievement.
Finally, he challenges the pervasive notion that cynicism is protective. Many people adopt a cynical worldview, believing it shields them from disappointment or makes them appear intelligent or realistic.
Like it's cool to be cynical.
Right. Hormozi argues that cynicism actually keeps you stuck, stagnant, and unwilling to try. In contrast, he asserts that optimism is what leads to long-term success.
Optimism drives action.
Optimists are more willing to take calculated risks, to persist even after setbacks, and to believe in the possibility of positive outcomes. He firmly believes opportunities abound in the world, but optimists are the ones who actually see them, seize them, and through their persistent effort, often create them. It's a powerful call to embrace a more hopeful and action-oriented mindset.
Before we wrap up, a very important cautionary note about something called emotional freedom techniques, or EFT.
Okay, this is the distinction we flagged earlier.
Yes, this is a technique described by Wikipedia as a self-help method that involves stimulating acupressure points on the body by pressuring, tapping, or rubbing them, usually with the fingertips.
That tapping thing you sometimes see?
Right. While simultaneously focusing on a personal fear, negative emotion, or past trauma, proponents claim that tapping on these specific meridian points releases energy blockages that are supposedly causing negative emotions or psychological distress.
So it combines tapping with focusing on the problem.
It conceptually combines elements of cognitive restructuring, exposure techniques from cognitive behavioral therapy, and somatic stimulation.
This is a critical distinction to make, and it's why we're including this cautionary note. Our sources clearly indicate that EFT, the emotional freedom techniques, are generally characterized as pseudoscience.
Pseudoscience, okay.
And has not garnered significant support in clinical psychology as a standalone evidence-based therapy. Its theoretical model, which is based on the ancient Chinese philosophy of qi and the concept of meridian points, is described in our sources as frankly bizarre and pseudoscientific.
So the underlying theory is shaky.
Furthermore, there is no evidentiary support for its purported mechanisms or even the existence of these energy meridians that it claims to manipulate.
What's crucial for you, our listener, to understand is that high-quality research has not confirmed EFT's effectiveness beyond what can be attributed to the placebo effect or any known effective psychological techniques that may be inadvertently provided alongside the purported energy technique.
Meaning, if it does help, it's likely not the tapping itself.
That's the implication. This means that any benefit experienced is likely due to components like distraction, focused breathing therapy, or cognitive reframing, rather than the tapping on meridian points. The source says it has no benefit as a therapy beyond these established psychological mechanisms.
Professional reception of emotional freedom techniques has been overwhelmingly critical within the psychological and medical communities. A Delphi poll of expert psychologists rated EFT as probably discredited, indicating a strong consensus among specialists that it lacks scientific validity.
Probably discredited is pretty strong.
It is. Reviews of its efficacy have been widely criticized for methodological flaws, including often ignoring studies that showed no positive effects, and potential conflicts of interest from proponents who may financially benefit from its promotion.
Right. Always follow the money sometime.
It has been dismissed with clear warnings to avoid its use by reputable publications like the Skeptic's Dictionary and Quackwatch, which monitor unproven health claims.
And this is really important for clarity. Remember to clearly distinguish emotional freedom techniques, EFT, the tapping one we just discussed, which is largely considered pseudoscience, from emotionally focused therapy, EFT.
The one we mentioned earlier from Healthline.
Exactly. Emotionally focused therapy is a distinct, recognized, and beneficial therapeutic approach with established evidence for its effectiveness in addressing trauma, anxiety, depression, and relationship issues.
Totally different things, same acronym. Confusing.
They share an acronym but are entirely different in their theoretical basis, methodology, and scientific standing. Always be precise about which EFT you're referring to.
So we've journeyed through a truly deep understanding of emotional expression and suppression today. We've seen how profoundly ingrained societal expectations, particularly those centered around gender, culture, and social norms, influence our emotional landscape.
And dictate how we show up in the world.
Exactly. We've unpacked the significant and far-reaching impact this has on our mental, physical, and relational health, revealing the hidden costs of emotional repression.
And then we explored powerful pathways to greater emotional authenticity and personal agency, both individually and collectively.
Highlighting strategies for releasing buried emotions and challenging limiting norms.
We also dove into the complex interplay of emotional intelligence and self-discipline, navigating what appeared to be contradictory research findings.
Yeah, that was an interesting curveball.
And we explored how redefining success means challenging traditional metrics, embracing risk and vulnerability, and adopting a more optimistic outlook rather than being paralyzed by indecision or the fear of judgment from others.
Leaning into chaos, maybe?
This deep dive really highlights how much of our emotional lives are shaped by unspoken, inherited rules and how much power we have to rewrite those scripts.
It's a powerful reminder that our emotional world is not just a private experience, but a deeply social one, constructed by centuries of unseen influences.
So as you go about your week, consider this thought-provoking question for yourself. If our emotional expression is so profoundly shaped by the unspoken rules of society, those inventable architects of our inner world, what revolutionary changes might unfold if we, individually and collectively, chose to intentionally unlearn just one of these deeply ingrained scripts?
Just one.
What kind of future could we build if authenticity, rather than societal expectation, became the primary guide for how we feel, how we express those feelings, and how we genuinely connect with one another?
Something truly profound to ponder as you navigate your own emotional landscape.
Thanks for diving deep with us. To catch you next time.